Happy Tuesday, everyone. T minus 53 days until my first bodybuilding show. Today, I think I wanted to talk about mental bandwidth and just how much contest prep can impact your mental bandwidth. And you might not realize it because what's happening is when you go into contest prep, you have to deal with your everyday life. And then you still have to focus on your contest prep. You have to focus on your practicing your posing and hitting your macros, not going over your macros, making sure that you're losing body weight. And you have to deal with all the emotions that come with like focusing on those parts of contest prep or in dieting. And so you're spending all that time and that mental bandwidth just trying to get a rhythm down and making sure that you're staying on task and on target to reach your goals for your show, right? Because when you do this, you typically don't want to just wing it, I'd say. Like if I should say some people might, and that's okay. But if you are going to, and you're like, I'm going in with the intent to win, there is a lot of mental bandwidth. So when you're working and you're obviously working out, and then you are maybe in the evening, maybe you're in a relationship and you're with your significant other. So you also have to make sure you're thinking about them and spending time with them. And then you have to prepare for your next day. And so there's all these things that go into it, and your mental bandwidth can start to make you feel really overwhelmed. And I noticed that today because in work I'm juggling a couple different projects. I'm working on training material for some new individuals for work, and I'm also trying to put together a project proposal, and I'm also always prepared for any other like tasks that are in my job, right? Like I have things that I have to do for my job, and I have to be very cognizant of all of that. Now, I and then of course I'm like trying not to like focus on how hungry I am or how much how I want to eat food and just those other mental signals, and trying to stay on task with um like or letting like the concepts of my uh like posing and like those little thoughts of like, oh, like that's something I have to think about. So it is a lot of mental bandwidth, and you have to recognize that. And I think if you don't go into contest prep with some kind of schedule or some kind of routine, it becomes a lot more difficult. Because even with my routine, I feel almost overwhelmed by how much I kind of need to do, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. So my recommendation is that if you're going to do a contest, either don't do what I do and spread yourself super thin, because I'm doing contest prep, I'm working out, I'm working on personal projects, I'm reading, I'm trying to like spend some time playing some video games. I have friends I hang out with. I don't have a romantic relationship that I have to do right now. And if I did, I mean, that'd just be another huge task. I don't want to call it a task, but another huge aspect. And I can guarantee that if you don't go into it with a conversation with your significant other, it's going to put a huge strain on your relationship. And I'm, again, like, it's just me. And I can like look at him like, yeah, this would be a lot of work to have with another individual. So if you're going to do a contest or you're going to do bodybuilding, be aware of that. I think that in other sports, there's obviously like a time commitment to it, and there's mental bandwidth that goes into it. But at the same time, you also have to be cognizant of the other things in life, and recognizing that if you are doing this one thing and you want to do it really well, it might negatively impact other aspects of your life. And if you start feeling overwhelmed, just you need to take a step back and start to reevaluate, how can I alleviate some of these things? So I hope that this might help someone kind of work through a process, like for myself, because I have a pretty typical routine. I get up at around 7 a.m. I have my breakfast. I work. I walk. I still have to get my steps in. I walk while I do some reading or some prep work for the day for work. I go through my work day. I have my lunch around 11. I do some more reading after lunch, at some point after lunch, and I also walk after lunch. I get done with work, and I typically work out right after work. Today I'm recording this video first because this is something I was dealing with today. I work out, and then I have my dinner, I shower, I pose, I do my posing practice, I work on and that should hit about 7 o'clock. And then from 7 to 8, I work on a side project. And from 8 to 9:30 is usually me. I have my final meal of the day around 8, and from 8 to 9:30, I'm doing things like playing video games and reading. So those are my two like relaxing things in the evening. So I think that for myself, it allows me to stay in a rhythm. And obviously, like sometimes in the evening, I don't I hang out with friends, and so it's workout, eat, pose, and go to a friend's place, or have friends over, or jump on my computer and play some video games with friends from 7:30 to 9:30. So it just depends, and so you have to be flexible enough. So you need to have a mostly schedule, but be flexible enough to accommodate for it. And the flexibility part's really hard when you do feel like you need to have control over everything, because you, your mental bandwidth this isn't there. So change when your mental bandwidth is low is really difficult, and you should be aware of that going into a contest prep. So if you are looking to start prepping for a bodybuilding show, be very aware that there is a mental bandwidth limitation of this. So good luck, everyone. I hope you have a great fitness journey.